Alright, what we're doing here today is cleaning up my crossfeed screw. The way this lathe is laid out, you have a connecting bar that helps bind your taper attachment here. And there's a big slot in here, and chips and debris always goes down in here, and it works its way into the nut, into the screw, and you have a real gritty feel to your crossfeed. And from time to time you got to clean it out, take it all apart, give it a good overhaul, and that's what we're doing today. But the good news is I finally got the chip guard that goes across the slide there, which will prevent this from happening in the future. So I just wanted to, give you a quick little overview on how I did it. Removing it is self-explanatory, so you'll see the reverse of that as we put it back together. So I removed the cross slide, the compound, and the screw, and cleaned it all out and wiped it all out. So this is all clean in here now. This was black and it was filled with a whole bunch of chips and whatnot. Here's a little pocket for some ball bearings that go in here, and they go on the other side over here. So here's the crossfeed screw, right, with these dials that I put on recently. Here's some ball bearings in here, and we have a little bit of play, very, very small amount of play, thousandth or two, which is to spec. So to take these things off, we have to first take this ball crank off. So I need to get my tool that I made for that, so hang on one second. Alright, so this is nothing more than just the spade bit that I ground out, and I just put it inside my vice grips. And there's a slot in here that this fits, and you simply do that. Break it loose. I should make a better one, because this was originally made for a heavy 10 and smaller locking nuts, but this one on the 13 was a little bit bigger. Okay, we pull off our ball crank. See, it's got that little retaining pin right in there, the Dutchman pin. Smaller. Now I want to mark this. Just putting some pencil lines here so I remember which direction to put this. Because if you remember from the video of installing this, you have to drill these set screws in place. So I just want to keep the ones that were meant to go there in the right spot. Alright. Now there is a lot of grit in here. Even though you can't see it, this has a terrible feel to it. It was all felt like somebody poured sand in there. So we're going to clean that out really well. I want to use a paper towel for that. When you're turning your dials, when you're taking your cuts and you're turning your dials, you don't want to get a chip in there, because that one chip can foul like a thousandth adjustment you're trying to make or something. So another nice thing is these kind of have set in a little bit now. They've got a little bit of, they wore in a little bit, so they're not so fresh feeling, because these were brand new. I will say this dial right here is very tight. Okay, there's a binder screw which will lock the dial, okay, but when you turn it, look, I mean, it's not that loose. So I'm thinking about taking this snap ring off, pulling this dial out, and maybe, you know, just sanding it down a little, you know, sanding that edge, this edge right here, just down a little tiny bit to make it a little bit more easy to turn. Alright, I've removed that. Ooh. First look, huh? Now you can see all that brown in there? That's rust. Now that doesn't make for a very smooth operation either. So what's good about this is we're, you know, giving it a chance to really clean it up and clean it out. That dial should turn real smooth. It shouldn't mess up your position when you're touching off, you know, or resetting your dial. At all. So now what I want to do, let's see. Okay, this gets held in here. Yeah, obviously I can't get in here and sand it down a little bit, so I'm going to just take a little tiny bit off here, maybe a 1/2 whew. Wondering if I should do this on the surface grinder. Let's do that. Alright, I have this mounted on the surface grinder. I'll put it back in and I'm gonna give it a try, and I'm just gonna sneak up on it. I'm gonna go 1/1000th at a time. And we'll do it. I mean, we got the grinder, so this is a perfect job for the grinder. There. All right, here we go. Now I can see right there that it's you know, it's out of parallel, because I've already run out of spark here, so now I want to clean out these planetary gears, make sure there's no chips or crud in them, because that's where you'll get your grinding sensation from. Man, I can't say enough about toothbrushes. They're so handy. Alright, let's clean out the mating gears. It's kind of good that I'm doing this now, because like I said, I put these things in maybe it was October, I think, and you know, I had a good chance now to kind of use them and break them in a little bit. Now this little freshen up is good. They should work really nice. Probably should have washed these. Just a complete degrease, re-grease. Make sure you get all your paper towel crud out of there. Clean out the snap ring. And our freshly ground dial. Oh, you know, another thing too. Just remove these springs. And I will clean here too. Now this is very smooth, this surface right here. Real slick. Even clean out the channel that the snap ring goes in, because you know the snap ring probably moves around a little bit as well. And if it has a dirt-free channel, obviously it'll move around smooth. Now these springs have a ground. I'm seeing that they have a ground side. You know, it's flat, and the other one is not. All right. A little squeaky there. I think a little oil is in order here. Move some of the excess. I don't like the oil when it slobbers all out of the dial. See, I could feel it binding already. There's something that isn't right. You got these tight tolerances here. There we go. Alright, so that's binding more, still binding, and it's not even pinned yet by the locking washer. So what I'm going to do is take some sandpaper, some emery cloth, and kind of dress this on the inside here, and we'll see how that does it. Man, this is a lot of sanding and grinding and cleaning and refitting. Alright, I am going to stop the camera, and I'm going to get this thing dressed up and cleaned up right and fitting right, so I'm not wasting camera footage and everybody's time. So I will be back once this is fitting nice. You know, I don't think it's so much the springs, because they're not all that, they're really not very powerful. They're just keeping a little bit of tension on there. So I'm going to bring this over to the grinder. Now I only took about, I don't know, a thousandth and a half off of this edge right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off a couple more, maybe 2-3 more thousandths. And I'll get back with you. Yeah, we're cleaning it up again for the umpteenth time. Yeah, there's no using this grease in here. You know, this is one of the perfect examples of, you know, you have a surface grinder and you'd never think you'd use it for something like that. But, you know, it's just one of those things when you have it and you could find a million uses for it. I can't believe that I never wanted one. Not that I didn't want one, but I just, you know, I don't know. I didn't think I had the room for it. I thought they were very expensive, and they're really not all that expensive. You know, it crossed my mind to grind this flat, because you could see, I don't know if the camera will pick that up, but you could see some wear marks, some uneven wear. So you know that this thing is spinning around. Huh. I think that splitting hairs and getting a little nuts, but it's always an option, I guess. You know what? I'm going to take another 3 thousandths off, and I am going to grind one side of this washer here, just so it has a nice uniform and smooth surface. So I'll do that off camera. Well, I took a little tiny bit off of here. Just so everybody knows, before I get the safety police after me, I took, you know, 10th cuts on this, because even though it's flat, there was still a little bit of, you know, unflatness to it. So I didn't want to take a chance of this thing catching and going flying. So I'm just taking the any burrs off the inside here. But what it did was it got the outside perimeter where the dial is going to come in contact with it. So I'm happy about that. I don't know, I guess every little bit helps. Okay, so we got that. I did my sanding right over here. I gotta re-clean this again. Let's orientate this the right way. Man, nothing is making a difference. It's still tight as anything. But what I'm seeing now is it's not the spring, because when I press this in, you might be able to see a gap between the dial and not the teeth, but there's a gap between this and that little collar, so it's not actually strong enough right now, especially with the grease packed in there. But see, it's still a little snug, so that means one thing, that it's on the diameter. So we're going to work this diameter a little bit more. Aha! See, once I put it in here and it mates with this, it spins nice, but once it gets here, that's where we're getting into some roughness. And I don't think I sanded that, no. So let me pull these grub screws out. You know what? I think this is a hardened piece of steel, so I'm going to opt to do a little sanding on the inside of this, right in here. So guess what we're doing? We're cleaning this out again. Alright, I promise I will not re-grease this until it fits perfect. And I'm not going to come back on camera until that's done as well. So let's give this a good cleaning. And I'm going to take some sandpaper and I'm going to work this in a little bit, and then I'll be back. Well, what I did was I mounted this up in the lathe at a moderate speed, and I emery'd it so it's uniform. And then what I did was took some Scotch-Brite and I went around. So, you know, polishing looks nice, but polishing a lot of times is functional too. So this is going to work out nice right now. See that? That's what you want. Smooth, smooth, smooth. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mount this in the lathe right now, and I'm going to just take this section right here and I'm going to use some Scotch-Brite and just smooth that out. And I'll be right back. Polished it up a little bit on the lathe. Clean out these relief cuts. Wow, look at the airtight. It lets a little bit of air out, and it just, look at it, just falls. That's what I was trying to achieve right there. So now I just want to put the slightest amount of grease in there, because I know that too much grease will slow it down. Just enough. You know what? I'm going to change something here. I'm cleaning it out again. I'm going to put oil. Put a little bit of some just regular South Bend oil, because, you know, if there's dust or chips or anything that get in here, you know, that's the rule. Grease will just hold it, and we don't want that. And this is definitely an area where chips can make their way in there. So we're just going to oil this. I mean, the surfaces alone are almost good enough, but alright. General purpose stuff here. Pop some in there. Move it around. Jesus. can't catch a break. Oh, that's a lot better. I mean, it's, you know, it has its pressure on there. I'm beginning to think it's the springs, because this look at that. I'm almost inclined to to maybe get a spring washer, you know, to keep this pinned rather than those springs, because the springs, obviously, they're riding in there. Yeah, I mean, you could feel the way it's very rough. Or almost maybe like a thin piece of brass. Maybe some shim stock. But then again, these might go right through it. Well, here goes the next logical check. Let's see it without any springs. What do we have with that? Well, you know, you have the planetary gears here. Right, and they're gonna just go like this. But you'd have that play. I don't know, I gotta figure something out. And now we're going to put the lead screw back in. So I made sure that I remembered which way to orientate the nut. There's some writing on the side here, so that kind of goes to the left.